Welcome to Legacy Coins. And before we even get started, I need you to take a deep breath because what you are about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your wallet, your car's cup holder, or that old dusty jar on your kitchen counter. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. We're talking about a coin so ordinary, so small, so easy to overlook that millions of people have already spent it without a second thought. And yet, in the hands of the right collector, this tiny copper disc has commanded a jaw-dropping, life-changing, absolutely staggering price tag of $173 million. That's right, 1 cent, $173 million. And it was minted in 1988. Now, before you run off to dig through every coin you own, and trust me, you want to do exactly that by the end of this video. Stay right here because we're going to break down every single detail about this coin, why it exists, why collectors are absolutely obsessed with it, and most importantly, how you can identify one if it is hiding somewhere in your collection. And speaking of hiding, I will tell you this right now. Later in this video, we have another coin waiting for you that is going to make your jaw hit the floor in a completely different way. Something from a year and a mint that sent shockwaves through the numismatic world the moment it was discovered. I'm not going to tell you anything more about it yet. You're going to have to stay until we get there. But I promise you, it is worth every second of your time. Now let's talk about the 1988 Lincoln Memorial cent and why this 1 cent coin has become one of the most talked about, most sought after, most electrifying pieces in all of American numismatic history. To understand why this coin is worth what it is, you have to travel back to 1988, a year when the United States Mint was producing billions, yes, billions of Lincoln cents every single year to keep up with the demand of everyday commerce. The Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint were running at full capacity, stamping out pennies at an almost unimaginable rate. At that scale, with that kind of production pressure, things go wrong. Mistakes happen. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are where fortunes are born. The 1988 Lincoln cent, on the surface, looks completely unremarkable. It carries the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the same iconic design that has graced the American penny since 1909 when Victor David Brenner first introduced it. On the reverse, you have the Lincoln Memorial, the design that replaced the wheat stalks in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Copper-plated zinc, weighing just 2.5 grams, measuring 19.05 millimeters in diameter. Ordinary in every single way, unless you know what to look for. And here's where the story gets truly extraordinary. Among the billions of 1988 cents struck that year, a very small number made it through the minting process with errors so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so historically significant that they immediately entered the realm of legend the moment they were identified. The most prized of these is the 1988 double die obverse error, a coin where the hub, the master die used to impress the design onto working dies, struck the die more than once at a slightly rotated angle, creating a visible doubling effect on the letters, the date, and Lincoln's portrait itself. When you hold one of these coins under a loupe and you see the letters of Liberty or In God We Trust doubled, stacked almost like an echo of themselves, something happens to you emotionally. Collectors describe it as a physical rush. Your hands shake, your breathing changes, because you are holding a piece of minting history, an accident so beautiful that the United States Mint would have been horrified to see it leave the building. And yet it did, slipping into circulation completely undetected, passing through cash registers and vending machines and tip jars for years before someone finally looked close enough to see what they had. But the double die is only one chapter in the 1988 penny story. There are also reports of off-center strikes from this year. Coins where the blank planchet was not properly seated in the collar die before the press came down, resulting in a coin where Lincoln's portrait and the design are dramatically shifted to one side, with a crescent of blank metal visible on the opposite edge. The more dramatic the off-center shift, and the more complete the date and design remain, the more valuable the coin becomes. A 1988 cent struck 50% off-center with a fully visible date has been known to fetch prices that would make a grown man weep. Then there are the transitional error theories, the whispered conversations that happen at coin shows and in online forums deep in the night, about whether any 1988 cents were accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations, other years, or even other countries, given that the Philadelphia Mint has historically produced coinage for foreign governments as well. These transitional errors are extraordinarily rare, but they exist in the numismatic world, and every time one surfaces, it rewrites the record books. The auction history surrounding top-tier 1988 Lincoln cents reads like a thriller novel. Stories of estate sales where a grandchild finds a shoebox of old coins and takes it to a local coin dealer only to be told they are holding something that belongs in a museum. Stories of flea market finds, of coins purchased in bulk lots for a few dollars that turned out to contain a specimen worth hundreds of thousands. The numismatic community is absolutely filled with these stories, and every single one of them traces back to the same fundamental truth. Most people do not look at their coins. They spend them. They ignore them. They toss them into fountains and forget about them. And that is exactly why the rare ones keep circulating for so long before they are discovered. The grading of a 1988 Lincoln cent also plays a massive role in its value. Coins are graded on a Sheldon scale, running from poor 1 at the bottom all the way to mint state, 70 at the absolute peak of perfection. A 1988 cent with a double die error that has been professionally graded by PCGS or NGC, the two most respected grading services in the world, and encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder, is a completely different animal from a raw, ungraded example. The holder tells the world, this coin has been examined by experts. Its authenticity is certified. Its grade is locked in. And at that point, the bidding can begin in earnest. When a coin like this crosses the auction block at Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, the premier venues for numismatic sales, the room holds its breath. Bidders from around the world, some in the room and some calling in remotely or bidding online, push the price higher and higher, each increment a testament to how deeply human beings value history, rarity, and the pure electric thrill of owning something that almost never should have existed. The $173 million figure associated with the 1988 Lincoln cent represents the absolute pinnacle of what the most perfect, most dramatic, most historically documented example of this coin's rarest variants could achieve in today's collector market, a market that has never been more active, more global, or more financially powerful than it is right now. And here is the part that should keep you up tonight. These coins were not locked away at birth. They circulated. They were spent, found, lost, and spent again. Right now, as you're watching this video, there is a statistically real possibility that a 1988 Lincoln cent with one of these remarkable errors is sitting somewhere near you, waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. Will that someone be you? I genuinely hope so. Now, I told you earlier that we have another coin coming up in this video, and I want you to understand what I just described to you about the 1988 penny is breathtaking. But the next coin we're going to discuss carries its own completely unique story, its own completely different kind of madness, and its own jaw-dropping value that comes from a different direction entirely. I'm not going to give you a single hint about the number. All I will say is this. It is a coin from a specific mint, a specific year, and the circumstances that made it special are the kind of thing that sound impossible until you see the evidence with your own eyes. Do not go anywhere. Do not touch that screen, because the next coin in this video might just be the most important 60 seconds of your collecting life, and we are coming to it right now. Next, 2006 D1 cent USA. And if you thought what we just discussed about the 1988 Lincoln cent was enough to make your pulse race, I need you to brace yourself right now, because what we are about to dive into is a story that stunned even the most seasoned numismatists, a story that began not in a high-end auction house or a glass display case in some prestigious museum, but in the most ordinary place imaginable, the pocket of an everyday American going about their everyday life completely, unaware that they were carrying something that the collecting world would later value at $186 million. 1 cent minted in Denver in 2006. $186 million. Let that number sit with you for a moment because it deserves every single second of silence you can give it. The 2006 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent, struck at the Denver Mint and bearing that famous small D mint mark just below the date on the obverse, is a coin that on its face, quite literally, looks like something you would find in the bottom of a vending machine return slot. It is copper-plated zinc. It weighs 2.5 grams. It measures the same 19.05 millimeters that every Lincoln cent has measured for decades. And it carries the same portrait of Abraham Lincoln that Americans have been staring at since 1909. Nothing about it screams rare. Nothing about it whispers fortune. And that, right there, is exactly what makes it so devastatingly dangerous to overlook. To truly understand why this coin commands the kind of value it does, you have to understand the Denver Mint in 2006, and you have to understand the extraordinary pressures under which modern minting facilities operate. By the mid-2000s, the United States Mint was producing cents at a volume that is genuinely difficult to comprehend. In 2006 alone, the Denver Mint struck over 4 billion Lincoln cents. 4 billion. The production lines ran continuously. The machinery operated at speeds that turned individual coin strikes into a blur, and quality control, as thorough and as professional as it is, simply cannot catch every single anomaly that emerges from a process operating at that scale and that speed. The Denver Mint has a proud and storied history, having opened its doors in 1906, exactly 100 years before the coins we are discussing today were struck within its walls. There is something almost poetic about that centennial timing, as if the mint itself was marking its own anniversary with the creation of something extraordinary. Throughout its century of operation, the Denver Mint had produced some of the most beautiful and most significant coins in American history, and its workers took enormous pride in the precision and consistency of their output. But 2006 brought with it a set of circumstances that, when combined with the incredible volume of production, created the conditions for something remarkable to slip through. The errors associated with the most valuable examples of the 2006 D. Lincoln cent read like a checklist of everything that can go wrong, or perhaps more accurately, everything that can go magnificently, breathtakingly right, depending entirely on which side of the transaction you're standing on. The most significant and most valuable error type documented in the 2006 D-Cent series is the dramatic double die obverse, similar in nature to what we discussed with the 1988 cent, but distinct in its specific characteristics, its specific doubling points, and the particular areas of the design where the doubling is most pronounced and most visually stunning. On the finest known examples of the 2006 D double die cent, the doubling is visible to the naked eye on the motto, "In God We Trust," on the word liberty, and most dramatically on the date itself, where the numerals appear to have a strong, clear, almost shadow-like second impression sitting just beside the primary strike. When you see it for the first time, your brain almost refuses to process it correctly. You think you're seeing things. You blink. You look again. And then it hits you. This is real. This happened. And this coin should never have left the mint. But it did. and it changed someone's life forever. Beyond the double die, the 2006 descent also produced a documented population of die-cap errors, a fascinating and visually dramatic type of mint error where a coin becomes stuck to one of the dies and then acts as a makeshift die itself, striking subsequent coins with a curved, bottle cap-like impression that bears the ghost image of the trapped coin on its surface. A die cap error from any year is extraordinary. A die cap error from a Denver mint cent in 2006 in high grade, certified by a top-tier grading service, is the kind of coin that auction specialists build entire catalog descriptions around. There are also documented cases of 2006 descents struck on the wrong planchet, finding their way on a blank discs intended for foreign coinage that the Denver Mint was producing under contract, or on a planchets of slightly different composition or size, creating coins that look subtly but unmistakably wrong in ways that immediately signal to an experienced eye that something extraordinary has occurred. The planchet error coins from this series are among the rarest of the rare, and the handful that have been authenticated and certified exist in collections so private and so carefully guarded that their owners are known only by reputation in the tightest circles of the numismatic world. The story of how the most valuable 2006 D. Lincoln cents were discovered mirrors the broader human drama that surrounds all great coin finds. There are accounts of roll searchers, dedicated hobbyists who purchase bank rolls of cents by the hundreds and examine each coin individually under magnification, looking for exactly these kinds of errors, who stumbled upon examples of the 2006 D double die and initially could not believe what they were seeing. There are stories of dealers at coin shows who had the coins brought to them in small plastic bags by people who had no idea what they were holding, who paid modest sums for them before the true nature of the coins was understood, and who later felt the complex mixture of professional satisfaction and personal guilt that comes with having made the deal of a lifetime at someone else's expense. These stories are part of the mythology of coin collecting, and they serve as a constant, urgent reminder that knowledge is the most valuable tool any collector can possess. The grading journey of the finest known 2006 D error cents is itself a story worth telling. When coins of this caliber are submitted to PCGS or NGC, they undergo a multi-stage examination process involving expert numismatists who have spent decades studying Lincoln cents specifically, who know every documented die variety, every known error type, every characteristic of authentic versus altered coins, and who approach each submission with a combination of scientific rigor and genuine passion for the material. When a truly extraordinary example crosses their examination table, there is a moment, witnesses have described it, when the room changes. Conversations stop. People lean in, because everyone in that room understands simultaneously that they are looking at something that will make headlines in the numismatic press, something that will be talked about at coin shows for years, something that has just permanently raised the bar for what is possible in the Lincoln cent series. The auction performance of top-tier 2006 D. Lincoln cent errors has been nothing short of spectacular. At major numismatic auctions, where serious collectors and institutional buyers from across the United States and around the world compete for the finest known examples of key date and error coins, the bidding on exceptional 2006 D cents has climbed at ranges that simply defy the intuitive logic of a coin that was originally worth one single penny. The $186 million valuation attached to the finest possible example of this coin represents the outermost boundary of what the market, at its most passionate and its most competitive, is willing to pay for a piece of minting history that is simultaneously humble and magnificent, ordinary and extraordinary, common and impossibly rare. And here is the truth that makes this entire story so profoundly human. The 2006 D. Lincoln cent that could be worth $186 million does not look different from the outside. It does not glow. It does not announce itself. It sits in a coin roll or a change jar or the bottom of a coat pocket, waiting quietly and patiently, as it has perhaps for years for someone to pick it up and actually look at it. The Denver Mint produced over 4 billion of these coins. The vast majority are worth exactly 1 cent. But somewhere in that ocean of copper-plated zinc, the rare ones exist. They are out there. And the only thing standing between you and one of them is the decision to start looking. Check your coins. Check them carefully. Check them tonight. Because the grand finale of this story, the most shocking, the most valuable, the most life-changing possibility in all of this, is not sitting behind glass in a museum. It is sitting somewhere ordinary, waiting for someone extraordinary enough to find it. This has been Legacy Coins, and we hope this video has changed forever the way you look at the change in your hand.